UK state pensions aren't as safe as everyone believes. Many people think that when they retire, the UK state pension will be guaranteed to them and be dependable. But as we will see in this video today, this is not necessarily the case. If you are a pensioner looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, or even a UK taxpayer, you're going to want to listen to this information because we're going to look at how the UK demographic situation is causing problems to the state pension system. Also, if you live in the EU, you're also going to want to hear this information because many of the governments and pensions are in the same situation as here in the UK. Finally, we're going to look at how the government is intending to deal with this problem. Okay, let's take a look. Now, to start off, we're going to look at some basics of pensions. Many people in the UK don't understand how pensions actually work. The topic is quite dull and hard to understand at times, so I'm going to try and explain it in a way that everyone can understand. Firstly, there are two types of pension systems in the UK. The first one is private or workplace pensions, and these are direct contribution systems. This means that you pay into the pension and your employer also pays into the pension. Now, when you retire, the amount you get is completely based on how well you invested the money. Now, this is done by pension funds, so you don't really have much say in it. But if the investments do well, you'll get a good return, a good payout when you retire. If the investments do badly, then you won't get so much. Now, state pensions are public sector pensions, and they're different because they are direct benefit systems. So this means that your payments when you retire are guaranteed by the state. However, these are unfunded systems, which we're going to look at next. So an unfunded pension system is very simple. UK state pensions are unfunded, with benefits paid directly from current workers' contributions and taxes. So all this means is that young people working pay their national insurance to the government, and when this money is totaled, is this money which is used to pay pensioners their payments. If there's any money left over from all of the national insurance contributions paid, this is stored in the National Insurance Fund and kept for later use. So, how do demographics affect pensions? So demographics means how the population structure is in the UK. So there's some simple conclusions we can make based on the fact that UK state pensions are unfunded. So firstly, for state pensions to be paid out in full, there needs to be more total contributions from current workers each year than total payments made to pensioners. If the payment requirements are higher than the total amount of contributions coming in, the state will not be able to pay the current pensioners' payments in full. So if the money coming in is less than the money going out, then they can't pay. For the system to work well, there needs to be a high number of young people paying in compared to old people receiving payments. So to measure this, the UK uses the old age dependency ratio. Now this is also used worldwide, and we're going to take a look at how the figures have changed over the past. And just to confirm that what I'm saying is true, I've got here the State Pension Age Review from the Department of Work and Pensions, and this was done this year. And in the review it says here, the second paragraph here says, the old age dependency ratio is an important indicator of state pension sustainability. The state pension is funded on a pay-as-you-go basis, which is another term used for unfunded, which means that the working age population must meet the cost of state pension in any given year. All else equal, a higher old age dependency ratio means that a higher number of pensioners will be supported by a proportionally smaller working age population. The National Insurance Fund, NIF, holds national insurance contributions, NICs, paid by employees, employers and the self-employed, as well as voluntary contributions. So we need to look at how the old age dependency ratio has changed for the UK and how it is projected to change as well. So to get the data on the old age dependency ratio, I've come to the OECD website, And they describe the ratio as the number of individuals aged 65 and over per 100 people of working age, defined at those at ages 20 to 64. So let's take a look at the chart. So the chart goes back to 1950. So in 1950, you can see that the ratio was around 18, and this has increased and increased up to where we are now. So in 2023, it is around 33. Now after this, you can see the projections for the future. It's going to shoot up to about 53 in 2070. So this is clearly unsustainable for fully funded pension systems. So to understand the change in the old age dependency ratio over time, we need to understand a bit about the demographic situation, and especially the baby boomer generation. So what are baby boomers? So this is a term used to describe a person born between 1946 and 1964. So these are the children of the people who came back from World War II. Now, in most countries in the world, this generation had the largest population of any generation in history. So there's more people born between these dates than any other generation in the country's history. The baby boomers are the parents of the millennial generation, and the millennials are the second largest generation ever. Now, to show why this is the case, why the baby boomers were the largest generation in history and since then it has decreased, we have come back to the OECD website, and I'm going to show you some information about fertility rates. So firstly, total fertility rate in a specific year is defined as the total number of children that would be born to each woman if she were to live to the end of her childbearing years and give birth to children in alignment with the prevailing age-specific fertility rates. Assuming no net migration and unchanged mortality, a total fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman ensures a broadly stable population. So what this is saying is that for a population to continue and remain stable, every woman has to have 2.1 children. And if it drops below this, it means that there are less and less children being born and the population is not being replaced. So we will see the chart now, and it says here the reasons for the dramatic decline in birth rates during the past few decades include postponed family formation and childbearing and a decrease in desired family sizes. So let's take a look at the chart. So here is the chart of fertility rates in the United Kingdom. It starts in 1960, and you can see in 1960 to 65 it was around 2.8 children per woman, and since then it has come down and down, and there was a slight rise from the 2000 to 2010 years, but you can see that now it has dropped to very low levels, less than 1.6. So this is why the baby boomers was the largest generation, because from about 1973 onwards, you can see the fertility rate has dropped below 2.1. So since then there's been less and less children being born. So this of course goes back to our main point about pensions, that for the pension system to be fully funded, we need a large number of young people compared to the number of old people retiring. And you can see that with less and less children being born, this is only going to struggle more and more. So let's get to the main point of the video, which is what is the problem and what this means for pensions. So firstly, the boomer population have either retired or will all be retiring this decade. They are the highest earners in the economy, which means that they earn the most. And their salaries have been used to pay pensions of the previous generation so far, but now their salaries cannot be used for pension contributions after they retire. So there's going to be a lot of high salaries being taken away so that they can't contribute their national insurance. The UK population is aging and more people are living longer now. So this means that the boomers, not only are they retiring now so that their salaries are being taken away from the national insurance, but they're also going to live for longer than the previous generation. So they're going to need pension payments for more years than the generations that came before. The generations providing contributions now are smaller in size than the boomers were. So there's less young people relative to the boomer population who are actually paying the contributions. And the amount of pension contributions will be less and less going forward. Women are having less children. The population growth of the UK in the future will be caused more by old people living longer than the number of children being born. So overall, we have a situation where there's going to be lots of boomers retiring, lots of salaries being taken away so that they can't contribute. There's going to be fewer young people providing pensions contributions towards those boomers. And also the boomers are going to live longer than the generations before. So for the government, it means they need to pay a lot of money out in pension payments, and they're getting less and less contributions coming in from the younger generations. So at some point, this is going to crack and there's going to be problems, and the government knows this and they're trying to figure out ways to deal with this. So just to show you that what I'm saying is being taken seriously, I've come to the Office for National Statistics website, and this is part of the Census 2021 data, and I'm just going to go down to point number 2 here, where it talks about population aging. So the Census 2021 results show the population of England and Wales has continued to age since 2011. The number of people aged 65 years and over increased from 9.2 million in 2011 to over 11 million in 2021, and the proportion of people aged 65 years and over rose from 16.4% to 18.6%. So to give you a visual representation of what is happening in the UK, I've come to populationpyramid.net, which is an excellent website, and it shows you a breakdown of the number of people in each age group in the United Kingdom. So you can see some very interesting results from here. So for example, you can see that the 55 to 59 year olds are one of the highest populations in the UK, and the 30 to 34 year olds are the highest. But overall, you can see that the difference between what it was before and what it is now. So the pensioners now, the people who retired already, there wasn't very many of them compared to the baby boomer generation, who are either retired or nearing retirement now. So there was a lot of young people back then compared to old. But now you can see that it's changing. There's a lot of people going into retirement in the next decade, and there isn't the kind of young people population to support this with their payments. If we have a look at another country which shows, I'm going to click on Tanzania here, and you can see how this changes. So this is a country where you could say that there might be a stable pension system going on, because you can see that there are loads of young people and not many old people. So these old people, if they had the same state pension system as we do here, this could work, because there would be lots of contributions from lots of young generations, not many old people to support. But if we go back to the UK, you can see it's very different, and this is a big problem going forward. So it should be quite clear by now that the pension system cannot keep going like it is forever. At some point, the contributions aren't going to be enough for all the retirement payments needing to be made. So going forward, what can be done about it? How does the system keep going? So there's only really 4 choices available. So the first one is raise pension contributions for the working age population. So basically raise national insurance contributions for everyone who's working so that more money comes in. Number 2 is raise the age of retirement so that the pensioners are retired for less years and therefore less money needs to go to them to support them for the rest of their lives. Number 3, the government can take on debt to pay for pensions. So they could just take on debt and keep paying people, but obviously there are consequences to this as well. And number 4, and this is the reason why I said that in the beginning that pensions are riskier than people think, is because the final option is to just reduce the payments made to pensioners. If there's not enough money coming in, the government might say we need to reduce the amount going out. So we should take a look at what the government is planning at the moment, and we can get this from the document that we looked at earlier on. So once again, we're going to look at the State Pension Age Review 2023 from the Department for Work and Pensions. So this was quite a long report, so I've gone through and taken some of the main points from it. And so firstly, the conclusions of the review. The government wants to ensure that state pension remains the foundation of income in retirement for future generations and that it is sustainable and fair. So, having a regard to the relevant factors, the government agrees with the independent report conclusion that the increase to state pension age from 66 to 67 is appropriate. So we can see the solution that the government is choosing at the moment, and that is to raise the retirement age. And if we go to the point 1.5, the next review, we plan to have a further review within 2 years of the next parliament to consider the age 68. So you can see that they are panicking already about this financial situation. And the first option is to raise the age of retirement. And so this is being considered to go all the way up to 68 before you can retire. So later on in the report, we go to section 2.4, which is population and the old age dependency ratio. So this says that life expectancy improvements mean that the pensioner population is projected to increase by over 5 million, rising from 12 million today to over 17 million by 2070. The working age population is projected to increase by just over 1 million over this same period, rising from 43 million today to 44 million by 2070. And later on there is a table 2 just at the bottom here, and it says the state pension related expenditure as a percentage of GDP. So you can see for the different time periods, the state pension related expenditure as a percentage of GDP is rising, and you can see by 2041 to 42 it'll be 5.5%, then 6.2, 7.3, and in 2070 it will be 8.1%. So it's unsure whether this is sustainable because it is a huge percentage of GDP which is going to be used for paying state pensions. So later on in the report there is a small section which talks about using debt to pay for pensions. And so it says here, reducing the debt burden is central to making sure that the public finances are on a sustainable footing for future generations. The OBR's 2022 Fiscal Risks and Sustainability Report projected public debt to reach 267% of GDP by 2071 to 72. Absent further policy action. So what they're trying to say is that the debt is already unsustainable, so it's unlikely that they're going to try and use debt to pay for pensions because it's just going to raise that percentage to more unsustainable levels. And finally, one important point was this one at the bottom, which says state pensions are changing demographics in the UK would result in the NIF, so the National Insurance Fund, balance peaking in 2032 to 33 before decreasing steadily and exhausting in 2043 to 44. So it means that all that money that they have in the National Insurance Fund now, based on all the previous contributions, may be gone by 2043 to 44 if we carry on in this way. So after that, it becomes unsustainable and there needs to be a solution in place. So there is one opposing argument which is considered a solution to this problem, and that is net migration. So what this means is net migration into the UK will slow down the aging of the population and provide enough young people to keep the system fully funded. So basically, if we keep letting in young people into the country, then the proportion of young people to old people will remain stable and we can fund the pension system. However, this is going to require lots and lots of people coming into the country, and already you can see that the population isn't liking this idea. There's already policies going on in the government to reduce net migration, and it doesn't seem like this is on the cards. There has been a lot of migration in the last couple of years, mainly due to the Ukraine war, where a lot of people came over, but there are no figures currently that predict a strong increase in net migration. It's probably going to remain stable over the coming years. So I hope now you can see that the UK does have a state pension problem, and this problem is going to become more and more apparent in the future. So it's very important that everyone starts preparing for it now. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this and how you think this problem is going to be solved in the future. So please leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to my channel and like the video, and that would really help me. If there's anyone who you think would like this as well, please share it with them. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.